I used to be so much better at this. Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Never mind. Nobody should listen to my new stuff. You should only listen to the old what the heck intros.
That is swelling as fuck. Holy shit.
Oh, it's not done yet. It's like noise engineering as hell, but I don't think there's any noise engineering modules in this.
Yeah, it's very waveformy.
Didn't have any wave filters either.
It's gotta be like Hickory or something.
Yeah, this is when I was in the area. All right.
Bartok's got the EMS phone. Oh my god.
Welcome to
Nice.
this week's What the Heck, where we're gonna talk about some Superboost stuff, I think.
Ooh, yeah.
Or we could just not. We could just talk about
we just,
like
yeah. Talk
um,
about lunch.
episode 80. This is episode 80. I should have done something special other than playing an old episode's intro.
It's fine. Episode hundreds when you're like, that's when you have to get like everyone on.
That's going to be the final episode.
Oh fuck.
Maybe.
No more what the heck.
Anyway.
No more what the heck.
We'll see. What the heck? All right, so let's do intros. Like, who are you and whatever.
Whoa.
And what new module that was just announced would you make space in your rack for? So that's like a pretty serious commitment.
Yeah, for real. Well, I'm Isaac. I do modular synth things and engineering things and designy things, and I'm here also. I think if I had to pick, the obvious answer I feel like is Spectrophon, because it's fucking massive and like that's seriously like making room for that. So that would be one of my kind of picks, but I think also the where was it? Where was it? The new Vector, the new RYK Knight Rider.
Yeah.
Looks seriously cool, and so does the Noisette, the Warp, which is another additive wave. It's been a lot of additive stuff, and it's like a huge additive wavetable thing with a gorgeous display. So yeah, I would do something like that. Definitely like a wacky voice. You know?
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm Hex 7 and make some music, do this thing, and mostly shitpost, I guess, these days.
Don't we all?
Yeah, but which module would I make space in my rack for? I don't think actually Spectrophon I would not make space in my rack for. I would make a new rack for it.
Oh yeah, just like Spectrophon needs its own treatment, you know.
Yeah, but Requiem, you got it. FX Boy.
FX Boy looks fun too.
Come on, there's like, I mean, I know it's super overdone on random things, but like the ability to pull a Game Boy cartridge, specifically a Game Boy cartridge, not an SD card.
An actual fucking Game Boy cartridge too. It's not like they're using an actual
like the
Game
shell.
Boy cards.
Yeah, using the shell. I don't have any idea if the pinout's the same or not, but
I wouldn't plug them into Game Boy. I mean, imagine you fucking plug like, you know, Super Mario Land in there and it starts.
I mean, that would have been like the Easter egg of all Easter eggs if you plug like really cool. You know, Pokemon or you know Zelda in, it plays a theme song or something. But I'm guessing that's not not happening. But
It,
it's just it's not a Game Boy, so it's not using actual Game Boy cartridges. It's using the
no, I
actual
think it's just using it
shells.
as the form factor, yeah,
Yeah,
and it's using the same kind of little pin. They might have found, maybe it was spawned on because they found a bunch of the readers or something, the like the little connector, and they managed to do that. Um,
yeah, and
but
I don't think they're the actual format. Like I don't think if you got like one of the digital cards you can write to or hack like for
you know, I think
LSDJ.
actually, I want to say this is maybe speaking too soon, but judging by the list of people that they said they had collaborated with, I have a feeling that they're actually all analog. I think that the FX Boy is an all analog effects because it's mono for one thing, um, which obviously you might be something that is like more analog focused. You know, it's easier to
Yeah,
do mono and analog, obviously. And they had mentioned like they had oh fuck, I'm trying to find the list of all the they had an Instagram post somewhere. Oh yeah, here it is. Um, they mentioned that it was 6 different manufacturers. Feedback modules, Mangu Diaz, Making Sound Machines, Zor Electronics, and Toolscorn. And I know the last one, Toolscorn, is like all like analog distortion drive. Like I don't think they've ever made a digital module. So I have a feeling that it's like analog drives and EQ circuits and stuff on these carts. But
I
it seems
mean,
really fucking cool, no
yeah,
matter
I
what it
mean they
is.
seem really cool. I don't. I mean the cartridges never stopped being made because they've been pretty dang popular for
Mm,
like the LSDJ community, the Game Boy hacking community,
yeah,
chip tunes, all that stuff. But here's a screenshot or a photo of the Making Sound Machines cart,
yeah.
just to give you an
Ooh,
idea of what these might look like.
oh, it's light up. I didn't realize.
I don't know if it's light up or just a clear
It's
shell in
just
the
like,
right shot, but anyway, hype.
God, it looks sick.
So yeah, I am thinking they're analog based on the they're coming they're giving you like
They give you like a
a little
strip board.
prototyping,
Yeah.
yeah, proto board for it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're me, you could either make something cool based on other existing circuits, or you could do something really lame and make your own like Game Boy cartridge label and like
Yeah.
solder just a couple wires in there, not even any components, just an everything goes through this
It's
cleanly.
placebo.
Yeah, 100%. Um,
uh yeah, no, it looks really good. I do like how the main one that they've been advertising is just a clear cart that just says trash on the front of it in huge letters. I love it.
yeah, it's
Um
so good.
Super cool. And Bifaco's doing really good too because they had two other announcements that look really good. Because they've got, for one thing, the 7U case,
Yeah,
which looks absolutely excellent.
yep,
Like a really good alternative to the IntelliGel cases. And it looks almost a little better than the IntelliGel cases because it's got more I/O and stuff,
yeah,
uh, and which is nice. And then also the they are doing the new. Well, they've got two other things actually. They've got the motion meter 1U, which looks
yep.
like a cool
Pretty
quadrant
cool.
alternative, and then it's all right. And then the MIDI thing, actually, the MIDI thing too,
Yeah,
looks really interesting as well because it's supposed to be super conservative. It's like super configurable because it's like 12 channels, 12
yeah.
CV or gate outputs that are fully customizable, and it has like ADSRs and LFOs and stuff built into it. Like, seems like a really cool piece of kit.
Yeah, that
Um,
one seems pretty rad that I want to look further into because obviously into MIDI and I've
mm,
found a lot of the MIDI to CV modules are lacking in one sense or the other. Like to give you an example, the Mutant Brain, which I love,
yeah.
has I believe I want to say 16 outs or something like that, maybe 12 or
Mm.
16.
It's 4 gate and then
I
no,
can't remember if
sorry,
it's eight.
it's 4 CV and 12 gates.
Yeah,
Because
so
it's a
that's what I was
4
thinking.
pair plus 8 extras. Yeah,
Right. So it has all those outs, but the CV can only be CV, and the gates tend to only be gates or
yeah.
triggers. You can't like
You can't do
have
everything be
right.
yeah.
So that's
And
kind of exciting for me in a utility way, but the FX Boy is like the showstopper for me.
that's the cool thing. That's the cool thing.
Yeah,
That's the interesting thing. And there's plenty of interesting other things that kind of have been dropping. I mean, where do we even fucking
yeah,
start? I guess. Uh, there is the. I mean, we could start at the Spectrophon because that's a big one. Uh,
yeah.
you know,
Um,
make
Raise your hand in chat
make
if you've
noise.
watched the demo yet.
Yeah. um, it looks excellent. It looks really cool. I watched the demo, and there was some complaining initially about. I saw a little bit of grumbling about it just being like complete techno babble on the page because they're just like, it's when they come up with a really esoteric concept and they just have to start making up words for things. And they're like, "Oh yeah, that's the spectral, arrangement matrix, dude." Like, and you're like,
Yeah,
"Okay, what does that mean?" like,
right. But if I turn it, is it
thanks.
gonna go what or like tell me what it does? Like,
Thank you, Tony Rolando. Very cool. No, but from looking at the demos, it doesn't actually look that kind of mysterious and weird. I think fundamentally it's kind of sort of a combination of like an additive harmonic oscillator with effectively a vocoder, it seems like.
yeah, I don't even know if
Because,
vocoder is right, but that popped in my head. So what's
yeah.
happening or what it's capable of? I still don't fully grasp all of what it's
Mm-hmm.
capable of, but in the demo, one of the coolest things is when they play a sample through it that includes a combination of a person talking and some sound effects and some more musical stuff. Like it's a really nice loop
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
demonstrate it. But as they're doing that, kind of like in a vocoder, when you pipe your voice through, it's getting uh,
The carrier modulated,
it's
all that
it's
stuff.
getting modulated by a carrier, which makes
Mm-hmm.
the pitch adjustable, so you can make yourself into a pitch perfect thing, sort of.
Yeah.
It has that effect, but it's different than a vocoder. Like it's a
It's
different
got a
effect.
different quality. No, yeah, definitely. But I mean, out of everything, it's like it feels like it's the only frame of reference almost because it
Yeah.
is something that seems so new and weird. Um, it definitely does. Like I was playing, I saw that and I was like, well, maybe I can do that with like I was messing with telharmonic into warps in its vocoder mode,
Mhm.
which kind of is like a little similar. It's the closest I can get without owning one, obviously, right now. But it's like you can hear it's got that thing where it can like process stuff and do all the spectral vocody shit. But then also you've got the control over like the partials and the sort of fundamentals and the frequency and it seems like it had a clock thing as well where like at some point he put like a clock into it and it started like kind of jumping around these different harmonics like it was like kind of
Right. So the clock can go
interesting.
into like on the morphogene, you're able to sort of scan through a sample, right? Like the morphogene gets
Yeah.
recorded in a sample, and then you can scan through sections of it. And the
Mm-hmm.
clock is able to do something similar in this sense. Um, I'm not entirely again sure
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
I've only watched the demo, but yeah,
It's
it's cool.
it's
Watch the demo if you haven't. It's the first exciting like oscillator I've seen in a long time, and actually
it's
looks
really
useful.
cool. It does look cool, useful. I kind of wish I half wish that there was like a mono version as well, just for the one part of it. But also the FM stuff they were doing sounded fucking great. Like it was very Buchla, just like turns up the FM index and you're like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's nice. And it's a really
yeah,
good sounding FM. You can tell they kind of tuned it. They've tuned in that sound really well. I
yeah,
feel.
yeah.
Um,
And I didn't see any mysterious button combos. I think there might be
mm-mm.
two buttons on the panel, but I like that's a
I
good
think it's just like
sign.
you hit
Yeah,
the button and it changes mode. Yeah, no, it
yeah.
seems extremely straightforward and even the panel is not that weird. It's beautiful. I love the weird kind of wibbly thing in the middle and the lights everywhere, but the panel actually seems super straightforward and like easy to understand. It's one of those few things where
Yeah.
you look at a make noise panel and you're like, "Oh, okay, I kind of get this." Like
Not just that, but the morphogene is one that is relatively easy to get the overall concepts, but it takes a while to dial in. And on
yeah,
this one,
yeah.
I think they've made it so you can fiddle with a lot of these controls, and the sweet spots are very wide, so it's not hard
Yeah.
to like stay in the realm of good stuff while being while playing.
Yeah, there's another demo where it's like a kind of a more musical performance of it. And I know you notice in the demo, like as he starts, it's kind of the chaotic vocody stuff, and then he just live like patches and turns knobs, and he really quickly gets it from like completely inharmonic to like a completely different sound, and then to like totally like ambient bliss just by like messing with it, and it seems very
Yeah.
fast and intuitive, and like just makes good sounds, which I appreciate that. I like from a UX perspective, they've taken the time to dial it in to just work really nicely.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Uh,
it looks fucking cool. Looks fucking cool.
yeah, I mean, Mind Robber, I agree with that. Like some of the make noise stuff takes like is hard to put into practical application if you're
Mm-hmm.
playing things in a conventional way. Like if you're not doing the make noise thing, exploratory soundtrack type fun stuff, which is cool.
Yeah.
But this one actually looks pretty approachable, partially because of the
Mm-hmm.
size and partially because it's got like two pitch knobs, it's volt per octave, it's like it's
Yeah,
two
it's just like an
oscillators.
oscillators. Yeah, straight up. It's like a big
Um,
comp. It's like a cool complex oscillator.
but I'm curious to
Slash
see what people
effect.
think of it when they get their hands on it that aren't like the reviewer people who are very good at those things.
Or like, oh
Um,
yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I hope
on a
someone in
related note,
EMS orders one.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
let us know.
one of you
Stream it.
buy one. God damn it, stream it.
Yes. But on a related note, like there's a lot of granular sort of sampling devices that are being announced and have been announced. And the only other one that I want to talk about before we jump to another weird module or something
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
is Arturia's update to the Mini Freak. So they keep
Yes.
coming out with gems, and this one actually had some new modes that include sampling and sort of like granular stuff with the samples that reminded me a lot of the pan of the what is the name spectrophon, right? Like in terms of
Yeah.
sounds that you get out of it. But the biggest
Mm.
difference with the spectrophon, like the magic moment, is that you can like play anything through it and do that stuff live, whereas the
Mm.
Mini Freak, you have a painful process of using software to move a sample onto a thing and wait and
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Um,
um
but it's cool
yeah.
it's in there now, like, because it can do that now. I guess with sampling, you could probably do like kind of multi-timbral, like have a piano and resample it and do weird shit to it and all that.
Oh yeah, get
And
ready for the Ferb organ,
oh yeah,
granular style. Uh,
yeah,
uh, yeah, I'm excited about that. Like it's
and
always really cool when something you own, like unexpectedly, like I have no expectations of any further
yeah,
firmware updates from it because it runs pretty perfectly. Like gets wildly new features that you don't have to like
oh yeah,
do weird button
definitely.
combos and stuff to get to.
Speaking of that, a good segue, Basil, or Basil if you're in the
Yeah,
UK, also
yeah.
looks cool. It looks like the pizza's gonna maybe be a Versio like kind of hardware platform thing, and now they've turned the pizza into a stereo delay, which is really dope. Actually, I love stereo delays so much, especially weird ones. It seemed to me it was giving me big mimeophone vibes because it's got that space knob, so it's sort of like a reverb and a delay sort of
Sort of,
together.
but what it really is, and I don't think they talked about it much, is the sort of spiritual successor to the Bastel Time, which was a standalone sort of box which does this stereo delay thing. Um,
Ah,
and so they made it into a module that is
yeah.
pretty amazing.
It
I can't
looks
believe they did it in the pizza format and that you can swap it in like a Versio or
That's
something.
awesome. That's awesome.
Um,
Yeah, no, it looks really nice. I like that. I wonder if they'll just sell panels just by themselves if you want to swap your own. Um,
I'm
may,
positive if they continue down this road with the pizza
mm-hmm.
firmware, like pizza updates as a
Yeah,
platform, that they'll do the same
yeah,
thing Noise Engineering is doing, which is a really smart move. Um,
yeah. Noise engineering. Yeah, a lot of people seem to be, or Qubit as well. A lot of people are kind of doing this sort of thing where it's like they'll make one module, engineer one piece of hardware, and then write a bunch of different firmware for it, and
yeah,
kind of make it do completely different things, which I think is cool. It's interesting, and I use a lot of cool stuff with it. I haven't messed with a lot of those kind of I haven't really delved into like the Versio line or like the Qubit Aurora or that kind of thing, but
Yeah.
I'm interested. Certainly.
I mean, the Versio line, like I saw. Actually, before I get to this, someone made a pineapple. Jay Blanco said pineapple next, and I fully agree with that as a
Yeah.
topping for pizza. But hopefully, it's something that like is kind of offensive sounding, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But the Versio, someone was, I don't remember if it was on EMS or something. Somebody was asking about, no, it wasn't EMS or somewhere else, asking about like effects modules. Like they want to get a little
Yeah.
effects rack for some stuff, and folks were recommending like FX8 XL, which is a great
Mm.
module. Um, but I lean towards the Versios only because like the FX8 and some of these other multi effects modules, while they're awesome, um, have a little less flavor than some of the noise
Yeah.
engineering stuff.
Noise engineering's got a lot of a lot of character to it. It's like
Yeah.
everything they do is kind of weird. You're never gonna get just like straight up like it's a chorus. You know, it's gonna be
Here's your
something.
spring reverb. Here's your hall reverb.
Yeah,
Here's your
yeah.
space. You know.
Space one, space two, space three. Like
Yeah.
um, no, yeah. I think it's cool. You know, with their stuff. Again, I only own, embarrassingly, I only own one noise engineering module and I don't like it. But that's bad. I really have been wanting to get, you know, more stuff from them because it looks really cool and they do have that kind of weird. I mean, I'll probably buy a Versio at some point or a Legio as well. Actually, kind of intrigues me more.
I
Um,
would say the Lego is the one I would go to now that they're both out. I mean, I have a Versio, so that might
mm,
influence me, and I like the Versios, but um, I'm really interested in the Lego platform, partially because of the Timp Lego, which is the drum. Because the Timp Lego has basically a bunch of quick switches to get from the modes that I like to listen to, and a bunch of
yeah.
sweet spots versus the BIA, which it's based on,
Mm.
is all over the place. Anyway, let's get back to Super
Well,
Boost.
there was actually a Super Boost Legio announcement. There
Oh
is a new
yeah.
Legio firmware. Is the Raucha? Doesn't sound especially Latin. Raucha Legio, which is a
Mm-hmm.
stereo resonant multi-mode filter with wavefolding, volt per octave tracking, and a gateable bypass, which is kind of interesting. So you can like turn it on and off with a gate, which is cool. Um,
Yeah.
Stereo filters are awesome. It's kind of weird they put the frequency on the endless encoder, but sure, it's still fun. Still weird. You know,
It's cool. I like the
it's
bypass.
cool.
Like that's something
It's a
that,
weird, neat thing. Yeah.
yeah, like it's something that I don't see very often in Eurorack land because I guess people feel like you can do parallel processing or something, but that's kind of a pain in the butt to like
Yeah. You need like a
do.
stereo VCA and then put a gate into it, and then you get all the clicking and shit. You know,
Yeah,
like
whereas this, like, I hit a button and it bypasses,
it's
which
like
is what I have on my
boop.
like r- triple splashback reverb, and like I put it into the
Yeah.
distortion module I made, and it's like really nice to just leave them plugged in and turn them on just when I want, you know, like
Yeah. Or you can do kind of like it's good for like setting up drops. Like if you have I think it's supposed to be like a DJ style filter.
yeah,
And so if you go like up the high pass thing and then you hit the bypass, then you use like and then you
and
kind of
kick
explode.
pull it out. Yeah,
Which is great for a stereo filter too because it makes a really good performance thing and not just like, you know, your 303 acid whatever. Um but yeah, I like also the fact that they've got the folder on it. They've got a wavefold on it, and then they have a switch for routing the wavefold either before or after the filter. Because I think both are really fun options. Because like wavefolding sounds good on kind of sine wavy things, like you know a filtered down kick or something. But it also sounds good to round it off with a filter afterwards. So you know,
yeah.
it's cool, smart thing.
Somebody asked if it's been a necessity to do this kind of Versio style stuff because of the parts shortages, and I think that plays into it a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, but I don't think that's necessarily bulletproof. Like we saw, WMD
Yeah.
had a lot of struggles getting parts. Like in the article, in the interview with William, he was saying he was spending like 30 hours a week trying to get parts, and like
Yeah.
he had some, like a lot of the coolest parts of their modules have a little bit of digital to them.
Mm-hmm.
to do their thing. And I suspect that's probably where they were struggling. In the case of Versio, they're Daisy, which is made by
Yeah, and
uh,
Daisy
why am I
is kind of,
forgetting this?
with like the qubit stuff, and even
Yeah,
the new 4MS as well is kind of Daisy, or it's like Daisy compatible or something. And
yeah,
it's like, I think Electrosmith have positioned themselves in a really odd place where they're kind of like this infrastructure, this like backbone to a bunch of other companies. And well, what they're doing is really cool and it's really accessible. It's also maybe a bit like, I don't know. Some people might have hesitations about it just because it's like, okay, now the entire supply chain is reliant on this one person. Like, how many modules go down? All the Legio, all the Versios, go down if Electrosmith does. So it's a lot of faith being put into them. So, part shortage wise, it might be necessary to kind of lean on them. But obviously, I think Bastel is not. They figured out their own
no,
thing for that. It definitely depends on kind of what it is. I mean, it's like it's all codecs, and it's really the processors that are hard. It's those STM32 chips that are ST is just not making enough of them, and so people are having trouble. I think you will see a shift definitely with other kind of stuff like these open hardware platforms for one thing, which cut down on kind of engineering time, but also I think new chips coming out will get a lot of attention, like the RP2040, the PiPico. There's going to be loads. I mean, I'm working on two PiPico designs right now, and I think a lot of people are also. It's going to be loads of PiPico based things that are hopefully kind of revitalize stuff um, in that sense. But, anyways, yeah. Whatever. Open hardware stuff is cool. Switchable platforms are cool.
yeah. They
uh,
are really really cool, and I think the biggest advantage to them isn't um, I don't know. The biggest advantage is that you have less uh, trepidation when purchasing that module because like going into the
yeah.
Versio is really easy. I was like, I don't know, I like the one with the bat on it. Like
Yeah,
I didn't think
but
too
then if you
hard
don't like
about it.
that, you could be
Right.
like, "Oh no, I want the reverb," or that
Yeah.
is the reverb. I want the delay, or whatever the fuck,
Right. Exactly.
Um,
Exactly. No, no,
we
you
haven't
have
gotten to
not missed
art.
that
We're gonna
discussion.
save art for the last because
We're
it's
trying to talk about the stuff we're
we're
excited
trying.
about and not the stuff we're a little nervous about.
We'll
Um,
start. Yes, art will be after. I think we're gonna get through the cool stuff first. Cool
yeah,
announcements. Anyways, for more new stuff, I'm just going down the list. Castor and Pollux 2. Oh,
just
it's
added
not
that to
really a
the
super
list.
booth. Not really a super booth announcement. Did just come out right before super. I don't know why she didn't time it for super booth, but whatever. It's the
She
new
also
Castor and
said that
Pollux.
too. She was like, I should have done a super boost.
They actually launched it. Fun fact: they launched it from in the air from a plane. So they did the launch. Like Thea and Maggie were showing screenshots of them like uploading all the shit to Instagram and stuff while literally airborne, which I think is funny.
All right,
Um,
here's the rundown for those of you not familiar. Castle and
yeah.
Pollux is a dope dual oscillator. Sounds great, digital, has crazy quirks, super fun to use, is in both of our cases. And the Castor and Pollux 2 is essentially taking that original module, designing a nicer interface to it, a
Yep.
little more performable, and pulling out some of the features you don't need. Well, you probably won't need like the extra waveforms into an expander that comes with it. So anyway, that's the rundown. And both the new one and the old one will still have the same firmware. So when they add new features, you can backport it. Like I think Isaac's already done that.
Yes,
Yeah,
I've been playing around with the new Castor and Pollux firmware. I would say if you own this module, you need to fucking update it like now because there's a couple things that are really cool on it. For one thing, hard sync has been made incredibly good. The hard sync now normals to the if you're in the hard sync mode, it now controls the pitch of the other oscillator with the LFO, which makes it so you get these crazy just gnarly leads and they
yeah,
sound so good.
yeah.
There's like, it can FM both oscillators now. The PWM's been improved. It just it sounds really good. So even if you don't want to buy the new one, though you should buy the new one, the old one is still very good and
Yeah.
has just gotten better. And yeah, um, it's very good. I like
And
Castor and
yes, yes,
Pollux.
Egon, it does usually sound like Castor and Pollux, uh, but I think that's a good thing. It's pretty
You
unique
know,
sound.
it's a it is a really unique sound, and it's a lot better than just a bread and butter oscillator, I find, because it's like it's really easy to get these massive, like, huge, kind of gnarly like bass tones, or like really good glittery leads. Like, to me, if I want like a kind of like cheesy 80s kind of conventional like synth sound, like Castor and Pollux is absolutely my go-to. It does that. It does chiptune really well. It's just a good bread and
Yeah.
butter oscillator, I think. Egon, it
So
does have FM, so the or do you want to
I was going to say it does have FM via the internal LFO, and you can
mhm.
do sort of FM like effects if you do like just frequency modulation on the pitch input of one of the two oscillators and do a hard sync or something like that. You can get some pretty rowdy sounds out of it.
Yeah, it's but I think Egon's probably referring to external FM,
Yeah, yeah,
maybe,
yeah.
which it doesn't have, which is definitely a bit of a missed opportunity. Though I want to say I won't say anything yet, but keep talking. I was gonna just check something really quickly. Um,
Um, yeah, one of the things that I know they've talked about in terms of adding to the firmware that I'm really excited about that isn't specific to Castor and Pollux 2 or one is
mhm,
changing the tuning knobs a bit. I think now the current firmware makes it so that you can on the primary the left oscillator. It does semitones, and then I think the secondary one is fine tune or something like that. So you can do some nice
mhm.
um, detuning and things like that,
Yeah,
or chords.
and
But I think the thing they talked about was making it an octave switch is what I would use it like
yes,
crazy.
and I think that's not quite implemented yet,
No,
but it's definitely in the works. And I will say another thing is I've asked Thea about this, and I believe it is possible with the hardware, but remapping the PWM input to be an FM input also may be in the cards. So you could potentially get external FM
yeah,
Egon um,
yeah,
if you wanted. I think it's possible in the hardware. It's just it's like a firmware thing, and I think it's one of those things. It's not the easiest thing in the world to just like pop in and implement, but there's a lot of features. It's definitely actively being developed, and they is really good about like listening to things that people want from it and
yeah.
like putting it in there. Like I'll say the pulse width modulation was a bug that I had been complaining about like ever since I got it, and it did eventually get patched. Like, I was like, "Hey, can you fix this?" And he was like, "I figured out how to fix it," and now it's
Yeah.
got the improved. And yeah,
The funny thing about the PWM bug was like to you as a bug, and to me like
well,
I
it was
turned that
like
feature right back on as soon as I updated
yeah,
because they
because
made it an option.
she backported it
Yeah,
so you could still have it. But both cool.
yeah,
It's both cool. Anyways, Castor and Pollux, rad, love Thea, dope oscillator that just came out.
yeah.
Um, get it,
Uh, get it, get it.
get
This is
it.
sponsored by nobody. The
Sponsored
next
by
thing I
nobody.
want to talk about because I'm personally excited is that WMD is. I mean, I'm wearing a WMD
Nice
shirt. I
shirt.
don't.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna say.
WMD is back along with the new company called Amped AMMT. Uh, and they're both producing WMD modules again, including some updates to existing modules. The one there's a couple they've talked about already at Super Booth. AMMT has got a prototype for a hi hat module, and calling it a hi hat module is like kind of an understatement. It's using sort of a sample based thing that's it's pretty wild. And there's a pretty good demo out there on Sonic whatever that one channel is on YouTube.
Sonic
Sonic
State, I
State,
think.
yeah. Um, but that's like state media. I don't know about that. Uh, but the other one is the Performance Mixer
Yeah,
V2,
V2 looks cool. Looks very
and
interesting.
yeah, I don't know if it's enough. I mean, I'm really excited that it exists. I don't know if it's enough for me to want to update or not based on how I personally use it, but the cool
Mm,
things that it has over the current one, like it has a lot of the same cool features, but one is that it's got the clickless mutes per channel,
are
pretty
they?
rad.
Yeah.
It's got a group button, so if you hold that down and make changes to mutes or cues or things like that all at the same time, when you release the group, then those changes will all happen at the same time. Pretty cool for drops, stuff like that. So you can unmute and mute a bunch of things and cue and uncue. Like you can do a bunch at once. And then it's got a bus that allows you to send a basically stereo out to whatever you like, and you can sort of queue up which channels go into the bus, sort of like the sends, but I don't know if it's like considered a third send or something, but sort of a stereo thing. And the sends they updated to make it so that you can, because before you could have either the
Like,
the first channel one send or something like that, or channel two send. Like there's two different sends. You can do one or the other. Now you can do both. So if
mm.
you have stereo effects, stereo sends, that's going to be dope for a lot of folks. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
and yeah, sorry, I'm going through the Perfect Circuit article because I want to pull up the picture of it just to
yeah.
look
While
at.
you do
Um,
that, I'm gonna read through some of the comments. Let's see. Oh yeah, based on the Juno art. Yeah, current
mm,
mutes does that too. Oh, struggled to find a good mixer. I mean, performance mixer is sick
God,
for
yeah.
performance. Like, just
It
want to make that clear. Like, if you're looking for like a desktop console mixer in Eurorack, that's not the performance mixer. That's like something else.
yeah,
This is for like when you want to do a lot of things on the fly. It has panning. It has internal VCAs, things like that. Um,
definitely.
but there's a
Uh
lot of really cool mixers that have come out. Oh, go ahead and share.
yeah, so just in terms of really cool mixers that have come out, I guess, is recently the Cosmix Pro is a really really
Yeah.
cool looking. That's actually my kind of pick, and I'm sort of been wanting it for a while. I probably will eventually get one. It's expensive, but just because I think there's the Cosmix Pro, there's stuff like the Mix BX or the Mix
Yeah.
KM or CR or whatever from Feedback. Um, it was recently the Jolin Lab actually just put out like a huge stereo mixer patch bay thing that
Yep.
looks vaguely interesting. Um, there are a lot of mixer options, but I do feel like mixing is still something that Eurorack hasn't quite done like exactly right yet, because it's really the problem with it is it's something where mixing consoles are huge and they have a lot of knobs and they have a lot of inputs and outputs, and the thing is Eurorack is very vertically constrained, so your two options are make something massive like the performance mixer or start cutting features. And so
Or
yeah,
you
there's
get
there's
real weird and key combo-y. Like think like
yeah.
OPZ or OP1. Actually, OPZ is a really
Mm.
good example of something that has awesome mute groups and different patterns and things. Like you could do a whole bunch, but you
But it's
really
just
gotta
like
like
the
get the
interface is
feel down.
not there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. So and for only $500, you get a TX6. The TX6 is kind of good too. Also, like in terms of small format stuff, it's really, really pretty fucking nice. I gotta say, I messed around with it. The pots are maybe a little too small, and obviously it's limited in the fact that it's tiny and it's $1,500, but also it
It's
is
really
good.
good. It's
It's
really
really good.
good.
I wish there was just a direct one-to-one Eurorack module port of that. There won't ever be, but maybe someone get on that. Maybe I'll get on that. But
I mean, what I'd
um,
like to see more of is like, I mean, like let's talk through it. Like I think there's a
mm,
good range, a huge range of mixers out there for Eurorack,
yeah,
and they all
certainly.
vary in what they're good at. And some are really good for performance. Some are more like really nice, clean
Like
sound. Like I
studio
think,
kind of just
yeah, like Cosmix Pro is pretty good. The Vortis is it Vortis's HD or something like that? I don't
vortices.
remember.
Yeah, hi-fi.
Uh,
I think is
Hi-Fi, that's what it is.
that's it. Yeah.
But there's also, I think, a market for a big desktop mixer in Eurorack
Mm,
format, and I'm pretty sure that's something or something along the lines of a larger mixer with more capabilities. I don't know if it's like desktop mixery, but the
Yeah,
Pittsburgh Modular team I think is working on, because they talked about making like a huge mixer
that
for
would be
their huge
cool.
cases.
You know, IntelliGel ages ago had the dub mix, I think, which it was only 4 channels, but it had like the whole like expandable FX sends and CV over everything and all sorts of really nice options. And they stopped making it, but you know, it's one of those things that I feel like would still be competitive today if it weren't for the fact that it was a little limited on channels. But it's like, you know, I think it's one of those things. It's kind of a specific market. I think people are starting to get more into like wanting to have these really powerful mixing tools. I think kind of early in Eurorack, I think people more just sort of wanted like, you know, summing signals together. And now that there's a million effects out there and lots of live performance stuff and tools in that sense, that there's definitely going to be an uptick in them. Hopefully, because I like mixers. I like
I
super
hope
people
so
like
too.
mixers.
I mean, I'd like to see them done in a way that's very modular, not necessarily like
Yeah, not
when I
just
say
like
modular, I'm
here's
not
a
talking about CV control over everything, although that's cool. I'm
that's
talking about
cool.
like a section that's like stereo channels, right? A section that's
Mm.
mono channels, if you want just that. A section that's like descends and returns, or like whatever.
Tex-Mix is
Yeah,
also
exactly.
comes to mind.
Yeah,
Requiem mentions Tex-Mix. Tex-Mix is awesome. If Tex-Mix still made the fader expansion where you could use faders and like ditch the pan knob or whatever, I
yeah,
would buy it in a fucking heartbeat. But,
yeah.
um, you know, that's another thing you don't see a lot of. That's nice about the performance, the WMD and the Cosmics is the fact that you've got the actual slider, the fader on it is really really good because like something is it's just something is missing when you're using a knob to adjust levels. You get that visual immediate upon looking at it, like that is louder than that is louder than that,
Yeah, I
and
mean the faders on the WMD are amazing, and the only
mm,
criticism I have of the current performance mixer is I would like some absurd amount of gain on top of
yeah.
the. I think it adds like six or something, but on the new
Ooh,
one, the
okay,
stereo channels get gain. On this one, they don't. So
nice. Yeah, well,
pretty cool.
new stuff. It looks like it has 2 sends as well, which
Yeah, I mean this one has
I
two
like on the
sends
new one.
that I can
Oh, it
flip
does. Okay,
between.
never mind.
So I'm using one
Okay.
send to go to data bender, so I can make
Mm.
my voices go through that, or the drums or whatever, and flip through them.
Yeah, yeah,
And the
yeah,
other
yeah.
one goes to spring reverb and Orion, the phaser from
Yeah.
WMD.
Uh huh.
So you get a
Um.
nice contrast of sounds there.
Yeah. No. Definitely. Anyhow, I would be really excited to see more people doing cool mixers. Um. You know, it's made me almost want to make. I've been wanting to make a mixer for a while as well, personally. Um. I've been thinking about digital mixing as well because you don't see a lot of digital mixers kind of out there either. I think they're expensive and weird, but you know, whatever.
I don't
Um,
know. I think they could be cheap because I mean I think the expensive part of mixers is
mm,
going to be the control component, so
yeah,
potentiometers and sliders and things like that.
and in a
Um,
digital mixer, that's not that much. You don't actually save anything because you still need to have all those controls. You just don't have analog amps and stuff. You have just a
Maybe
digital
you can
controller.
really cut that back, because my desktop mixer is significantly smaller than other mixers, sort of in its channel range,
Yeah,
because it shares some controls. Uh,
that's that's something that the TX6, the Teenage Engineering does. That I was thinking
yeah,
would be really cool. Like if you had like you know you have your 3 knobs, but instead of like the hex mix where it has like the full hex mix has like 7 knobs, I think, and like lined up or 8 knobs or something. You would have like layers where you'd be like, okay, now it's a per channel EQ, like now it's like a 3 band EQ. Now it's your 3 sends. Now it's your balance pan, like you know, gain, whatever, that kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I think that would be cool if you could implement it well. It would be cool to have kind of like layers so you can reuse controls and keep things compact, but still like super powerful and like you know
Right. Like by
good.
default, 8 sliders, they all control volume for each channel. I hit a button. Now
Yeah,
all the sliders are the low end EQ, another button,
yeah,
mid, another button, like that kind of thing. When I release back to volume, like stuff like that could
yeah. Just
definitely
quick
save space
editing,
and
that
add.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it might be nice
Uh,
for even. my kind of idea, my secret weapon idea here, is making it so you could have the controls be different things on different channels. So
Yeah.
instead of it being a global thing, you could be like, okay, channel 1 and 2 have the 3-band EQ immediately accessible, but channel 4 has the pan, and then channel 5 is like whatever. So you could perform whichever thing you wanted to perform if you wanted to use it like as like your EQ is like an isolator effect or something like
Or you
that.
could make some horrible unit interface. This almost goes into our
Yeah.
bad module idea
Bad
bin, but
module
like
ideas,
literally
yes.
just one channel of control, like worth of controls, right? Like so a pots
Yeah.
for EQ, one
And then a
slider,
knob that chooses which, or like
like
buttons that choose which
18
channel.
inputs, like and like a rotary
Oh
switch or
fuck!
something to switch between channels.
A chunky rotary switch would be amazing.
Yeah, yeah,
And then it changes, and maybe
obviously
it doesn't do the
terrible.
catch behavior. So like as soon as you snap to the thing, it changes all the settings to whatever it is there. Um,
Yeah, this has 8 cents, but good luck figuring it out. Like,
8 cents, but
um,
they're random jacks everywhere. That was, if you saw other Super Booth announcements, Kyle's suffered multiple looks amazing, and I want it.
yeah, I thought it
If you
was
saw
pretty
that,
cool. Yeah,
oh, it's
yeah.
gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
Um,
Uh, anyways, we should probably get back to Super Booth announcements. What else did we have here? Yeah,
uh,
WMD did all that stuff.
mhm.
Chaos devices. I don't really know what's going on. Oh, they did a mixer too, stereo mixer with a
So
sub.
Chaos announced 5 modules, and that's
Fucking
too many
hell.
for me to read all about.
I think
But
half of them are in there like Leibniz, like the binary system thing, which I
yeah,
kind of don't know what
I
the
think
fuck is.
2 or 3 of those, yeah, like those are like definitely explorer case modules where you're getting weird stuff out of
Yeah.
it.
So that's
But
Rostock, Dresno 2, Bohuman, Ostrava, and Deva. So
mhm,
Rostock and Dresno 2 are binary system stuff, so
yeah,
binary system people can figure that out.
and then they have a
Ostrava
stereo
and
mixer
Bohuman, yeah.
which can chain to their mono mixer, which is super cool. Um,
And
and
there's
yeah,
additionally
I'm describing what TextMix can do, but like their TextMix didn't quite do it for me for other reasons,
mm,
um, as far as interface goes. Um,
yeah. The new mixer also has an expander that adds two
mhm,
more aux sends, which
mhm,
is dope. I like that.
yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
Um, it looks like a neat mixer, and I like it. Excited to see it. Sucks that it's not that many channels, but it looks like it's laid out very sensibly, and you know, so that's cool.
Yep,
Chaos is cool.
yep.
Then they
Would
also
you?
had the Diva. The last thing is the Diva, actually, which is a DSP slash analog feedback thing. It seems interesting. It looks like they borrowed. They said that they it's oh no, sorry, it's an expander for their fuck. It's another expander. It's an expander for their multi DSP. The Timmy. Oh god, how do you say it? The Timizora, Zuara. Some more expanders. They put out 3 fucking expanders they released, and 2
That's
modules, or
cool.
maybe both the binary things are expanders. I don't know what's going on with the binary system.
There's
I
so
can't
many
talk about it.
binary things, and at some point I want to pick
So
one
many.
up. Maybe after I get a Turing machine, because that's not quite like the same, but
It's like a
sort of
mega Turing machine.
sort of
Yeah.
neighborhood. But sort of in the neighborhood of these is the one you'd already mentioned right off the
Mm,
bat is the Rick Knight Rider, Reich, right?
fucking yes. I
Which
love yes,
is
yes, yes.
which is a quad sequential resonator. um,
Whatever that means. Apparently, it's
yeah,
got 17 filters in it. It looks like maybe like a mega rings, but also with a little bit of like I don't know why it's called Knight Rider. It doesn't seem. I mean, it looks really cool. It looks kind of Knight Rider
it's
esque
called Knight
because
Rider because it has the
it's got the red scanning
yeah, the scanner. Oh, what is
headlights.
that
They
thing
almost look
called? I
like
made one. Yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
um,
It looks really cool. Bandpass Filter Mania. Forestine says, yeah, Forestine. I think it's yeah. It's definitely like I like. Also, people were asking. Someone mentioned they were like, "Do the lights actually do anything?" And apparently they do. On Instagram, they responded saying that they control both. They show both where the cutoff of the filters is and what the width of the passband is. So, uh, they can like
oh
move around
yeah.
with CV and stuff. So you can they are helpful and useful, and I love that. I love Rick has been doing really cool. RYK has been doing really cool stuff, especially with like the vector wave sounds incredible. I've heard that performed at a couple live nights here, and like it is completely amazing. And I'm sure this thing will be completely amazing too, because
I
RYK.
mean, Rick is an interesting company because I would put them in the make noise bucket where they sometimes make interfaces that are completely impossible to decipher. Like if you do look up this module, like there's nothing on it. Like there's not
No, yeah, it's
labels.
completely,
It's like
yeah.
you're just gonna learn it,
And yeah,
which
and
is
that
cool.
kind of goes into like even their first module, because a little bit of history. RYK is initially this guy who was doing a lot of System 100 modules, and so he was DIYing stuff for the Roland System 100 and making these kind of old things. And he made this sequencer, the M185, which was licensed out to IntelliGel and made into the Metropolis and later Metropolix. And then he made his own version of the M185, which is the it's also called the M185, but it's the Eurorack version. And did that, and then the vector wave, and then this. And I will say, the M185 is another thing where it's got some weird features. Like one of the outputs is a stereo jack that has CV and gate on it for some fucking reason. And it's like weird decisions, but also like people love that sequencer. People swear by that sequencer. So, um, you know, it's whatever.
Yeah,
It's cool.
yeah.
Seems to be doing well for himself, and I do like the panel design. The panels are completely nebulous and they make no sense, but they do look really fucking cool. you know,
They
and
are cool.
isn't
Oh,
that
there's a lot of
isn't
weird, quirky bits in a lot of modules coming out, like the W&D
yeah?
Performance Mixer 2. There's a MIDI out. I don't understand that on a mixer. Is it so you can use the sliders
Sometimes
as like a CV control? I mean, a
I don't
MIDI
know.
controller? I
I
don't like.
hear people talking about MIDI links with mixers, and I have no idea what that's about. Honestly, um, you know,
I
who
don't
knows?
know.
Yeah, other things. Oh, other weird modules. Two little ones. There are some Duranalog things. They have a signal router which looks okay, but they have a dual BNC lamp dimmer. So it has a BNC thing to plug a lamp into, and you can CV control the brightness of the lamp, and you have two channels of that.
That's
All
like
14.
smart homes for modular people.
Yeah, amazing.
Turn the
Absolutely
mouths up
fantastic.
so we can get some light.
Yeah, yeah, no. Could be cool for like dramatic performances if you have the two lights and they like dim and then they just start going with your like kick or whatever.
I mean,
Um,
that's what Itai does, like with the DIY huge lights behind them that just pretty
yeah,
much
yeah,
are
yeah.
CV controlled by the kick. Super cool
No,
stuff.
you don't see it very often, but Dupfer actually has an RGB controller module for controlling big strips of RGB lights, which
I
is
think
sick.
Bastel has one too. I want to say, like, I feel like there's a
Yeah,
few of them
maybe it
out
feels
there
like a
by
Bastel
like
thing. I
a
know Bastel had
certain
the
vibe of
servo
companies.
thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that's cool. That's weird. There's also Mystic Circuits, who I love, have
Yeah.
come out with a weird VCA called the 3D VCA. It has an X, Y, and Z on it, and it's like quadraphonic. So I think it's sort of got a bit of like the sort of what's the company, the Warng, like the spatializer things where it sort of moves stuff around, but I think it can do it in quadraphonic space. So it's got
Yeah.
maybe like a mid-side encoding kind of weird panning crossfade element to it. And also it's purple, so like, why not? Even if it was just a normal quad VCA and 6 HP, that's still pretty good. So
I mean,
I like it.
that's one of those modules that I just don't I can't even picture how to implement, right? Like
I have no idea. I want to hear them do more with it because they say it could be a quad crossfader or a dual stereo crossfader or a balancer or a VCA or a unity mixer with 8 inputs or a
but
quadraphonic panner. Like,
maybe they don't even know cuz like one of my somebody was talking about Mystic Circuits and running into them at I don't know if it was a previous super booth or a previous expo, and Mystic Circuits gave them like one of the 0 HP models, like the button one, I
oh
think.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And the person was like, "What does it do?" And they go, "I don't know,"
I don't
and
know.
like left.
I think I actually I remember ages ago I had asked in a YouTube comment to Mystic Circuits because their GitHub got taken down. And I was like, "How are you doing this passive envelope?" And he's like, "I think it's some optocoupler. I don't remember." I was like, You know what? Fucking hell yeah. Normalize making stuff and then completely forgetting what it does.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to. I think it would be a lot of fun. Um, and like the other thing is, I'm still really intrigued by IDUM that they came out with a while ago. That weird little kind of gate trigger randomizer thing, um, which looks cool and is rainbow and stuff. I feel like I heard someone mention here in EMS that they had an IDUM that they were using to some
Oh yeah,
effect,
who
but
has that?
I don't know. I want to say I
The
don't know
item's
what it
pretty
is.
cool though. That's
It's
one of the
cool. It
cooler
looks cool.
modules.
It's dope. But yeah, so that was cool. I'm just going through more things. Uh, not gonna get to art yet. No, there's more. Oh right. Frap has made a quad huge low pass filter that's massive. Everyone's coming out with massive modules.
Oh my god.
Uh, I'm sure Amy will be very happy. I know she likes really huge, like. um, anyone, if you're a fan of massive modules, there's a lot of those this year.
I
Uh,
mean, Tip Top also came out with the Buchla 296T, which is
mm,
52 HP. Uh,
52 HP, and it's like the kind of the Frap tools, the Fumana as well. I
yeah,
think it's the huge base Buchla vocoder thing.
it's a
If you
spectral
want
processor. Yeah, I think so.
spectral processor, sounds so cool. Yeah, it's a big thing. I've just seen people making fun of the name. Why? Because it's called Kunsa. What is it? Is it? Yeah, it's called
Ooh,
Kunsa.
yeah.
Just a letter off from being bad.
Yep. We'll just leave it
um,
at that.
we'll leave it at that. What the heck? It's a family-friendly show. Uh, yeah, no. There's that. Yeah, and then Tip Top also teased a weird mixer that looks kind of massive. I think it's actually a larger version of the. Forstein mentioned the Topo Brio like mini mix, which is really cute, which is
Mhm.
based on a Buchla design, and this is I think their clone of the Buchla design, but you know. Uh,
Oh,
oh,
also the tag, the
oh yes,
instro.
Instro. Oh my god.
Yeah,
Okay, the Instro stuff is really cool. I should have been yeah. Should have mentioned this earlier. It was like they announced it like before Super Booth, so it was a weird thing.
yeah.
Yeah. So the Tog and the other one that's
Arad.
the Arad. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Um, Tog looks really cool. I love that they're doing these really compact, feature rich but super playable modules. I think the Tog seems like a super sample and hold slash Turing machine slash. It's got looped random. It's got sample and hold like high precision digital sample and hold. It's got analog noise. It does a lot of things um, in a very small form factor.
yeah.
Um, and then the story behind it's actually kind of interesting. Jason put on a thing because in the video because Tog they do actually have another module named Tog, which is their kind of big random thing with the big logo in the middle.
Mhm.
And initially, he made it just for fun when Breath of the Wild came out, and it had a Sheikah slate, a blue Sheikah like thing in the middle, and it was like themed around that. And obviously couldn't sell those, so he did a limited run of ones with the Insta logo instead, and they went unexpectedly. People really liked them, but in the back they had always been developing this other random module, and so this is like almost a V2 of that, but
That's cool.
V2 slash the V0 of that. Looks
The
really cool.
public release.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
And
I
then the
mean, there's
filter looks really good too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The filter seems very. I feel like what's the word? The LPG sort of vibe is happening
Mm-hmm.
on a lot of manufacturers. Like, there's a lot of different options now, and very few
Yeah.
are like actual
The actual
Vactrol
low pass case.
based.
Yeah, no. It's a transistor. It's like a Moog ladder, but with a decay envelope on it.
Yeah, and I think
Um,
they sound better actually. So I'm all
yeah.
for it.
So yeah, actually, I think the thing that also intrigues me about that module a lot is the fact that I love that they've put an envelope follower and like a bipolar VCA because it makes it really easy. You can use it straight up as a compressor out of the box, no
Yep.
patching, or it can be like a side chain with the low pass on it, or it can be a full like put an oscillator and you've got your full synth voice. Like,
Yeah.
I totally love that. It looks like it's going to be really helpful if you have a small rack and you just want like absolutely best in class for performance per HP. And it has loads of weird CV assigns and stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on with it. Um, but yeah,
I think
that
the
looks cool.
last, well, not the last, but one of the other ones that I'm excited about that came out before or was announced before is the Pianophonic.
Yes.
Like
Oh yeah, Nobula.
Nobula, yeah. Like they've been making modules that are like almost there to like get me
Mm.
excited, but they're just not quite. And this is the closest I think that's gotten me excited because I do really at some point want a nice little module like the Pianophonic, maybe even the Pianophonic, to like throw in my case for like performing live. So I don't I
Yeah.
don't need my samples from the Micro Freak or the Micro Freak. Like I can just fill in with
Just have like a
a
nice
worse
multi-tempo.
version, but it's with me, right? Like
Yeah, 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 yeah. Um, and yeah, I mean, in general, I really like what Nobula's been doing. Honestly,
yeah.
I think it's really unique and weird. Like, I like that they're kind of leaning into this weird side of like MIDI controlled like poly modules, and they're making their own
Yeah.
kind of ecosystem, but not in a weird closed off weird way. Hint hint, but no, they're doing it really cool stuff with it. Like the chord pilot looks cool, and then this pianophonic thing as well, where it's like you know MIDI in, and you could use it kind of just for like resampling, or it's got wavetables and stuff. It just seems cool, and their panels are beautiful. I love the panel
Yeah.
design on all of them.
Yeah. I mean, if you watch this, Nabula, you're doing a great job, but MIDI throughs on the next one, okay?
MIDI through the next one, you better. Expander, it's
uh,
just like six MIDI throughs that you just hook up to the back of everyone.
call it the hex
And they're
spander. Um,
Hexpander. The kicking
anyway,
as well, I've also really been liking. I was thinking about it earlier because I was like, I want a kick drum module. I should design one. And then I was like, oh, wait, I've just designed the kick gain because I like the kick gain.
yeah, I mean the kick gain has got to be my top five kick modules. Like it's
Definitely.
awesome. Yeah.
It looks really good. It sounds really good. It would be a tough choice between that and Ultra Kick for me if I was in the market for buying one. Um,
Yeah, I think that Ultra
because
Kick and Crater are like my top three.
yeah,
No problem.
kick gain's definitely more like 9090, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, okay, what else? What else should we talk
Uh,
about? Should we start complaining?
Yeah, I'm ready to complain. I gotta
All
get
right,
going sometime soon, but let's complain. Uh,
let's do it real fast. How much time do we have, by the
okay.
way, so I can keep an eye on the clock?
Let's go ahead and say 20 minutes.
Oh, we'll take less than that. So there's a
Okay.
new system announced by Tip Top, right?
Yeah.
Um, that is called Art, and it's
Horrible
kind
name.
of cool in theory, right? Like it is actually kind of
Yes.
cool. I don't know about the name, like
Mm.
I, but it's cool
The
in
I.
that it's a polyphonic module system that you can use sort of existing cables to um, control things polyphonically without MIDI. And they talk about MIDI speed, but that's not really a real thing.
Yes, there's a couple of things about it. I mean, the idea I think comes from VCV. Well, not maybe
Yeah,
from VCV because they did mention they actually shared in the Perfect Circuit article a
yeah,
prototype from 2012, 11 years ago of a similar kind of idea where they had these poly. I think it was using like S video connectors or something weird. But
yeah,
I think the idea is that it's like the VCV, the poly patch cables, where you have 8 signals, but it's just one connection that goes across something. And so their idea for that is that you can have these kind of snakes that make it so that you could have like an 8 voice synth, but with like 4 modules. So instead of having to
yeah.
buy, 8 oscillators and 8 of everything, you just have their octal filter or whatever.
Or like a
Um,
bunch of dope for modules that are designed for polyphony.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. Now, the issue with it is there's two weird things about it. The one weird thing is the art signal itself. So they're calling this
mhm.
art. So just to clarify, because I saw a lot of confusion. Everyone is very confused about this,
Yeah,
understandably so, because it was communicated really weird. So art is a new kind of signal, like a trigger or a gate or a CV and it's
Yeah.
a digital stream of data that sends note on, off, pitch, velocity, and maybe pitch bend and such information over like a serial that connects to things. It is almost the same as MIDI, though they claim that it's 40 times faster, uh, and it uses a monophonic patch cable instead of using a stereo patch cable. Um, Other
Yeah.
than that, it's just faster MIDI. Um, and it's not compatible. You cannot plug an art signal into a volt per octave thing of an oscillator. That won't work. And you can only plug an art signal into an art module that receives it. And you have the only thing that generates art and takes art right now are their modules. It's not.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
like the interesting thing about the speed. So like let's
Yeah.
back up on making fun of that a little
Mm,
bit. Like their MIDI does have a like a log jam problem where it can only
yeah.
send a certain amount of signals through and back. And I don't know how this is solving that. But I think with theirs, one of the differences that you could do with this that maybe you could do with standard MIDI is um, maybe frequency modulation. Maybe it's fast enough where you could do that over their art
Oh,
signal.
maybe. Maybe.
Where with MIDI, it's you're going to be dropping stuff, and it's just not going to work at audio rate.
Yeah. Obviously. And but as it stands right now, what it seems like is that it is MIDI. You know, like they have, and then additionally, the other half of that is that they've done two things. They've also done, and this is the part that I don't actually take any issue with, is these polyphon, or I take some issue with, is these poly. They're calling them poly patch cables. I think they're calling them, which is it's a USB C cable, but you can't use a normal USB C cable. You have to buy their USB C cable because it's wired differently. But it has like it's like a basically a snake where it's got 8 or more analog signals going through it. It's completely passive, and it just splits just like how the VCV polypatch cables work with. So like if
Yep.
you've ever used those, right? If you take like 8 oscillators out, there's a decode like VCV modulator. You put a poly thing in, and it breaks out all of them into 8 individual ones, so you can snake out elsewhere. And this is like that. Um, it's using a USB C connector, but you can't use a USB C cable. I
Well,
think it's a good idea.
here's the catch. So there's some gotchas here that I
Yeah.
anticipate. One, even though it's a shielded cable, I expect there to be crosstalk, so you're probably not going to want to use it for a combination of audio and CV. One or the other is usually fine.
And
Um,
that's possibly why they're doing this weird MIDI thing and then the this snake thing separately is because they might have tested it and found that the pitch gets too muddled if you use the 8 thing. Maybe.
well,
I don't know.
here's what
That's
happens. Really,
conjecture.
is like you'll the pitch you might hear a little bit of stuff, like a little bit of stuff might
Mm.
change, but really what I noticed when I'm using the rack plumber is if I have audio and CV going through. If I have a clock signal and an audio
Yeah.
signal, you'll hear the clicks from the clock
You'll hear the
through the
clicks.
audio,
Mm-hmm.
which is I think a bigger problem than the CV getting messed up. But anyway, the
Yeah.
USB bit too is interesting because I think most USB C cables that are capable of data transfer and power charging have some components in them that I think make that possible. So I think they have little mini computers in each cable, but I could be wrong
Mm.
there. Like I think they
Yeah.
are very complex cables, which is why they're expensive.
There's
But
definitely
this
some
one's
kind of
just
pull
like a
down.
dumb cable. It's like eight
Yeah.
strands.
It's 8 strands, and they do mention that like if you get one of these, if anyone buys one of these, I don't think you should buy one of these, but if anyone does, uh, do not plug the poly patch into anything because if you send 10 volts into your fucking phone, you will destroy it instantly.
Yeah.
Like, I'm guessing they'll probably run into people being like, I tried plugging my computer into the MIDI port, and now my computer doesn't work anymore.
I mean, the problem isn't that. What it's going to happen is it looks like a USB cable.
Yeah.
It's going to get put on the ground one day. They'll pick it up and look at it and go, "Oh, I'll put it with my USB cables."
And then,
2 months
yeah.
later, they'll be like trying to find this cable in horror. 3 months later, they'll find it when they try to charge like their phone or something,
And it just doesn't work, or
and it
worse, it
fries
breaks
it.
your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would suck. Um, yeah, it's definitely. Um, but yeah, so aside from that, and then the module selection is kind of milk toast. It looks cool, I guess. There were some there's some kind of questionable decisions. They have a 6 voice oscillator and a 6 channel VCA, but then
Mhm.
an 8 channel filter and an 8 channel envelope generator.
No, that makes sense because you want at least one
Two
filter per
extra,
voice plus one, so that works out.
I guess. I don't know. It feels like it should have all been 8 to me. Like that would
Egon
have made
knows what I'm talking
sense.
about. Um,
um, but
but
there's
like,
that,
yeah,
but yeah,
I
the
just
big
don't think there's
problem.
a great need for polyphony and modular. Like, it sounds dumb, but like I've tried it. Like, my
Yeah,
dumb MIDI thing is capable of playing things polyphonically, and I've done it, and it's really hard to do unless pretty much everything's the same. In which case, why don't you get a polysynth? I don't know.
the old key step does it. You can assign all its outputs to be
Yep.
4 voices, and then you do this terrible 8 or like 8 cable snake, and you're
Yeah.
trying to tune 4 different oscillators and 4 different filters and all that to sound like vaguely. And it's just like buy a mini log. Like buy a mini freak or micro freak or whatever. Just like I feel like the poly is, or even one of the Nobula things like that. I feel like is the best way to do poly and modular, because it's like you know you're getting that kind of individual voice control, but you might be stuck with paraphonic stuff, or maybe you can't play out your exact types of chords or whatever. But like I think I don't know. It's not that. I don't think it's that crazy. I don't know. I agree with you there though, that it's maybe not like that necessary. There's not that big of a need for it.
Right.
Um,
But I mean, I think it's cool. I do think it's a cool idea overall. Like, I think it's
yeah.
nifty. My hesitation is around their past history with stackables, right?
Yes.
Like, where they made a really cool thing and then they were like, nobody else can use this, only us. We are the stackables lords, and you
Yeah.
must pay us
And
to
so
use a plug with a hole in it, like a banana plug.
where is it?
Um,
Here, I have it. Yeah, like I'm trying to find my forbidden stat cable, because I have a. Oh, there it is. I have one of these that shouldn't exist, but it's a non-tip top stat
oh, and it's not,
cable.
yeah, that one's great. That looks
Yeah, it's
awesome.
really cool. And you know what? It's actually way higher quality than the tip top ones. It's actually made way better. But Instro cannot sell these, because if they did, Tip Top might sue their asses. And you know that is really the big problem. Yeah, as you were saying, it kind of that's the sort of the really scary thing is like this seems like the kind of thing that could be a cool idea if it was done in collaboration with a couple other companies that were also interested. If they got like, Qubit or Noise Engineering or Dupfer or whatever, like someone, more people in on it, like making stuff, then it seems like it could be legitimately cool. It's like, oh wow, everyone's gonna make this push. Maybe it doesn't work out, whatever, that's fine. Everyone tried. It might be cool. But the fact that it's like they're trying to make this platform and this new big thing, but they're not making it available. It's like they're going to make the whole format. So I guess what they want is they want people to buy tip top only modular systems. And if you're going to do that, why not just buy a polysynth? If you're going to buy only modules from one company that only use this weird proprietary poly link thing, like what difference is that between just getting straight up a polysynth? Um,
I mean, it is a little bit of a walled garden, but I think I know who this was made for.
yeah.
There's a certain type of person out there in the modular world whose name is Egon, and has made his entire platform on not using MIDI. It's
And this
not
is his
technically
key. This
MIDI,
is way
so
in. Well, actually, no, he literally cannot, because the thing is, the only thing that generates art signals as of now is their octopus controller, which can only be controlled by MIDI or a computer. You cannot actually turn 1 volt per octave into art yet. So literally, they didn't even. That's another bizarre choice they've made with this launch is that they've put out this one the only controller option, and like all of these things are like cool-ish, but they're also massive. Like they didn't make like a little 4 HP things. It's like this is the little art thing, it's $100, like it'll do all your art stuff really easy, ta-da. um it's like, no, you have to buy our massive like hermod thing that's 20 HP and has 8 outputs and full-size din, which like most people just aren't gonna hop on that, I think, really. um I don't know. I don't think it's gonna catch on. And I know someone mentioned. I think it was Requiem mentioned. Like he was like, I think what's gonna happen is it's not gonna do great, and then they're gonna be like, we're opening up the format because we were gonna do that all along, right? Like I don't know.
We'll see. Let's see how it goes.
We'll
Like,
see.
let's
We'll
be
see.
optimistic about it, and maybe Tip
Mm.
Top will eventually loosen up on that patent.
Maybe it
But
could be amazing. Maybe they'll reveal
yeah.
that actually the Spectrophone has art inputs, like whatever. Um, it's something wacky. Uh, I don't know. It's weird. But the other thing is it's kind of ironic that this was announced at the same time that the Game Boy FX was, because the Game Boy FX is very similar in concept in a way, because it's like they've made this thing where it's like, oh look, we've made this platform and it's got these cards for effects, but they're like, oh, and we asked 6 other companies to make their own effects for it, so we have a platform of third party things, so you can have a nice big variety of things to play with.
I
Obviously
mean,
different scale, but
Bafako
like,
has like a completely different vibe. Like they've open sourced
yeah.
many things. They've made as many things as possible DIYable, so folks can learn
Mm-hmm.
how these things are made. Got a
Yeah.
good working relationship with other folks. Like they've made at least one or two DivKit modules that I'm aware of, like
They've
things
made
like
two
that.
DivKit
Like,
modules, Molten Music. I know the even
yep,
the Allen Synthesis, the EuroPie. This isn't official. Like this isn't even like an official collaboration, but all EuroPie kits are packed by Bifaco,
yeah.
and yeah, they run workshops in Barcelona as well. They've got a completely different thing. It's like it doesn't feel like this closed off walled garden, as you know,
Wait, hold
and
on. Forestine, are you serious? The SQ1 has a little bits input. That's so
that's so
specific.
cute. That's adorable.
I guess they did have a little bits cord kit, so that's funny.
You know what? I will say, there's this woman, Rebecca Yurivna, who came for an attack release here and performed an entire set with a laptop and a full thing of little bits, and it was face meltingly good. She was unplugging and rearranging them live, and it was so smooth and sounded incredible. Like, I will say, the little bits are amazing. It's completely changed my mind. I'll put the link in EMS because it was like one of the best attack releases so
I
far.
would
And
love
she
to
was doing
see
like,
that
it was like
because
Portishead
I have that
on
kit. I
little
have that
bits.
kit, and the
Yeah.
MS-20 filter
Oh,
on it rips. Like,
yeah. No, it's fucking great. Uh, but
I just couldn't figure out
yeah,
how to
no.
attach it to anything. I think I'll just end up like hot gluing it.
But she mentioned, she was like, yeah, this was because she was traveling from like New York or whatever, and she was like, the only thing that she could fit was the little bits, and so here I've placed it in YouTube in general, or I placed the YouTube link in general. You guys should
Okay.
listen to it. It's fucking sick, and if you want to see little bits doing cool things.
All right, we're gonna
Anyhow,
end this
yeah.
on a high note.
Any high note, little
MIDI
bits.
sucks.
MIDI sucks. It's awful, and I hate it. I only, CV sucks too. Only gates.
It's only gates.
That's
I'm
only
tired
gates.
of
That's my
volts
hot
per
take.
octave.
I'm tired of volts per octave sucks. You can have high note and low note.
Yeah, if
uh,
you don't want to, you don't have to have mass and do mass if you're not doing
no.
volts per octaves.
Middle C and C0 are the only two notes that are allowed. Um,
Yeah, Mutant
yeah.
Brain works great. That's what I use. Two of them.
Mm.
Highly recommend that module. I'm curious to see the new Bafaka one. I'll probably look closer at
The new
that
Bufaka one
next
looks cool.
year.
Or get a Keystep. I replaced my Mutant Brain with a Keystep Pro, and Enthusiastic Electrons has my Mutant Brain now. uh, but still, I loved it. It was really good. I didn't hate it at all. I just grew out of it. Um,
I don't know, Jay Blanco. Jay Blanco just said you would need MIDI if your Iraq sequencers didn't eat so much HP. But look, I
Ooh.
don't have a Euro rack sequencer, and I
Mm.
still need to use MIDI. So
Yeah, I mean, listen, man. I'm just saying it has to do with poly stuff. You're not gonna get your Super Gemini, which I have now slipped into the conversation. It's really cool. You should get it.
oh wait, I
You're
just
not gonna
made your
get that
point.
controlled. Yeah.
Sometimes I actually just am dumb. Uh,
um,
I dumb.
item.
All right,
Anyways,
let's uh
uh,
let's get out of
end it for the
here.
day.
Maybe I will play us out. Just a second. Let's see
I
here.
can do an acoustic set.
Yeah, get us going while I find a nice. Let's see here. Let's go back in time to, I don't know. Let's try episode 40. All right,
Acoustic set.
I'm ready to do this.
All right.
Subscribe
Subscribe.
to what the heck?
Is that Forstein?
Oh my god, amazing.
CK, are you still using the Percons as your primary drum machine? That thing looks sick.
It does look sick. Very broody.
Come on, answer the question so I can hang up this call. Go make some dinner.
Yeah, I gotta get to sleep.
Thanks for watching, y'all. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
80 episodes.
Wow.
Oh, you use the Percons as melodic. That's cool.
Ooh. I use beads more as a voice than an effect. Some things just work out like that.
All right. Have a good rest of your week, y'all. I will see you next week, I think. Bye.